Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us online or in person at Concordia University's fourth space. We're so happy that you could join us today for the third event in this series of conversations, Fire and Light, Interdisciplinary Artists Producers. To help situate you, we are currently streaming to YouTube live from Fourth Space, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Jogjaga, Montreal. And we'd like to extend our gratitude to the Kanyangahaga Nation, who are the caretakers for the lands and waters that we're meeting on today, for their teachings about the earth and our relations. At Fourth Space, we work with our university community to help mobilize and exchange knowledge by co-creating and producing daily activities. And today it's our pleasure to welcome in a couple of special guests that will be introduced shortly. And to do that, let me pass the floor to our colleague, Assistant Prof in Theater, Megan Mo Batix. Over to you, Mo.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Anna. This is the third and final event in the Fire and Light series, which brings together artists to discuss their creative practices in performance, sculpture, bioart, video, social practice, and visual art, as well as their crucial work as producers of major international festivals, conferences, and performances. And we've been really privileged this semester to have visits from Rasma Smite and Beck Berger, and today with Margo Zalite, and everybody in conversation with Concordia professors such as the fantastic Alice Jerry and VK Preston. So, and today we have Sheena Barrett. So this has been a really awesome kind of collection of dialogues about international performance production and practices, as well as kind of communities around the globe surrounding performance and visual art. And so we're really excited today for this event. I want to thank the support of the theater department for sponsoring this with the Fournier Fund, and also the Center for Interdisciplinary Studies in Society and Culture. Thank you, Mark Sussman, for funding these visits so that we can provide some amount of compensation for our guests. So thank you. Really, really excited. And let's get into it. So today we have Sheena Barrett, who is an agender, neurodivergent singer, dancer, actor, songwriter, composer, choreographer, and performing arts educator from Montreal. She holds an MA in musical theater from the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland and a BFA in music composition and classical voice from Concordia University, where she graduated with distinction. She's a musical theater graduate of the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York and studied classical voice at Vanier College. She has a diverse career as a multidisciplinary artist, appearing in film, TV, on stage, and with her own theatrical musical project, Darling Ghost. In 2014, Darling Ghost was part of TEDx Glasgow and premiered internationally at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. During the festival, Sheena also captured audiences with her comedic portrayal of Grandma in the Addams Family musical and appeared as the bratty Queen Bella in The Girl Who, a new musical inspired by the classic Choose Your Own Adventure books. She's also an accomplished dancer and is trained at the National Ballet School of Canada and l'École Supérieure de Danse du Québec. She recently completed her PhD at Concordia University, so we thank the music department for recommending her fascinating work. She's investigating a radical approach to creation and performance practices that transcends disciplinary paradigms, with the aim of utilizing the performing creative arts as a practice and languaging that facilitates neurodiverse thinking doing. Sheena is committed to neurodiversity as a concept and movement that attends to the diversity of perception and the full range of or ways of being / becoming. Is that everything? Wow. Excellent. I mean, it was just the fullest version of who you are. So it's all good. Do we want to, I've done the whole spiel. Do we want to like maybe see a little bit? Oh, are you muted? Can we hear you now?
I'm sorry about
Can
that.
folks in Zoom hear Sheena? Excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Good.
Well, I'm going to introduce Margo before we get on to those things. So this is Margo. Margo Zalite. She describes her work as moving pain paintings that, in a free flow, balance between reality and imagination. Numerous opera productions have been created in the director's interpretations. In Berlin, these include Verdi's La Traviata, Wagner's Die Valkyrie, Britain's The Turn of the Screw, Mozart's Così fan tutte, etc. She's passionate about architecture, anthropology, biology, and expanding space-time with the help of music theater. Rolling through countless mentalities and worldviews is her answer to the dismayed Western Europe. She also has lived and worked in Latvia and the Baltics for a number of years and is now based in Germany. Festival Favoriten is the festival where Margo Zalite is the artistic director. Favoriten is the theater, dance, and performance festival of the independent scene in North Rhine-Westphalia. It's been held every 2 years in Dortmund since 1985. It's one of the oldest festivals of the independent performing arts in Germany and is aimed equally at the people the city and region, as well as at a nationwide and international or professional audience. So welcome, Margo. Thank you. We're excited.
Thanks for coming. This is my first time in Canada.
Yay! Excellent. Building new bridges. Awesome. Well, we wanted to start by showing you a bit of each of these folks' work so that we could prompt a discussion between them and hear all of the fascinating overlaps. So Sheena, what are you feeling? What would you like to show folks?
Let's show a little bit of the exhibition or
the diagram.
No, the one in the woods.
The returning to the trees. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I'll explain it quickly a little bit first.
Let me cue that up.
Take your time.
Okay,
I'll just take a moment to explain a little bit about it.
Okay.
I'll read this because it'll help. Returning to the trees, the technological burnout crisis, skizzing the opera practice and narrative, is the 19th proposition/piece in the PhD thesis called Composing with the Event, Techniques that Move Toward Neurodiverse Perception/Sensation. The proposition/piece is also part of the SSHRC-funded research project RISE, which stands for Reflective Iterative Scenario Enactments, led by Dr. Eldad, I can never say his name, Sabari. I'm sorry, Eldad, if you're watching, you're probably not because you're on a plane. Woo! RISE's theme of the year, technological crises, sparked a desire to skizz the field, to explore how to find activation when starting from a neurotypical figure such as theme, topic, and/or narrative. Furthermore, a reimagining of the opera medium was called for. The appetite for practicing the skizz, the desiring machine, took hold on these prefigures, and through play, pushing, pulling, dismantling, deconstructing, lured them into a field of activity, transforming them from static to operational. By refraining from the neurotypical tendency to parse and harden experience, to categorize and to represent, the field of relation can be felt. The schizomatic proposition's offer was to be composed by the event, to let the felt, the event I can't read obviously, but that's okay. To let be felt, the event orienting itself towards a collective attunement and emergent ecology, creating the conditions for transsensory and non-sensuous qualities to co-compose constellations. Carrying germs of experience across event times, this panopticon of technological form-taking demonstrates how the proposition folded onto itself. The suggestion of a moving away from technology activated those very qualities in the eventing. The vitality affect running through the material is felt in how the qualities co-compose across the 9 video angles. I can't say this word either, impressionistically, form and subject blurring, releasing the qualities of forming felt. So all this to say is a bunch of us, basically Eldad rented a bus, and a bunch of performing arts musician people came out to where I'm living in a cabin in the woods, and we went into the forest, and we kind of created an ecology, a composing ecology. And originally Eldad sent me this sort of security view thing to kind of look at everything we had captured. And I was just like, wow, this is really beautiful how it's like co-composing across the video screens. And so I wanted to keep it that way. So I thought we could just share, you know, a few minutes of the piece. So maybe we could start at like 33 minutes. Okay.
But this is the start of the opera? Do you want to use my hand?
I think it's on, yeah. No, this is just like, it's a very, very long exploration that we did. So it's just like about halfway through. And it's to give you a sense of the ecology we were like developing right there.
When you say ecology, can you talk a little bit more about what that means in this piece?
I can, but I would rather that we would, if we can. Getting attuned to the environment, listening to each other, and sort of develop with like language and sensing, and you can like, it's very hard to explain because again, like these are things that are so visceral that they're just really in the practice, you know? But this kind of ecology emerges instead of yeah, like a set. And I think it was probably such a different experience for individual art. Somehow, like together, it's a whole other thing. So it was very interesting to watch back the videos and to see all the qualities that were coming across. And I'm just very interested in composing with qualities that are beyond the five senses and the like prefigured body. So the qualities of sound and the qualities of visuals can cut across all of that. Anyway, you can stop the video, but yeah, the sense of what we were doing as a practice in the woods. And it was one of the first of the year for the RISE project, so it kind of really opened things up for the rest of the year. And yeah.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. I definitely have questions about that later.
Yeah.
But right now I want to ask Margo, which work would you like to show to give people a taste of?
Okay, let's start with the festival.
The Favoritin Festival
Yeah.
after movie version 5?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna do my same screen share. Okay.
Richtig.
Do. Margo, do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, exactly. These are two of my last years. What did you see there? I saw approximately 500 pieces, what other artists are doing. So I wanted to talk about this perspective of being an artist myself and arriving into the other side of the moon and make decisions for arts and artists, and probably also seeing differently myself as other artist works I started to do after being producer. So it's a very interesting point what I could tell, or we could speak, how does it change? And because I see also bigger responsibility of knowledge sharing, and this Germany, I think, is much further than my Baltic countries for sure, or after post-Sovietic countries in general. We have little until no knowledge sharing, and probably in America, I don't know how in this continent, I mean, how do you share knowledge? But I wanted to be like this part of a new generation who is sharing their knowledge faster on both sides. On artistic side, to share the knowledge actually how producing functions and how people could, or young artists or older artists. I also do care for people who are out of market, so to say, right? They are not what do you say, dynamic and know how to write every application, right? Like new application. What to do if you are a wonderful old-fashioned circus artist, right? How to stay an artist. So this kind of this knowledge sharing of knowledge into both directions are kind of my new lifestyle or vision or mindset, and this I can get best in Germany because they are much further in this field. But in that moment, I also kind of lose my country of origin. I become as a mental refugee because I don't fit anymore in my post-Sovietic mindset. But I'm not very much westernized because I grew up in the Soviet Union, basically, right? Or post-Soviet, which was more even harder, to build up new democracy, where everybody's like crocodiles eating everything. The resources were gone for 20 years. So probably what will and is happening now in Ukraine, right? They will need some 20 years to build up back the economy, but they have bit plus. Ukrainians are very far in artistic taste. They are extremely interesting already now, so probably they will need shorter period. So back to bridging between artist and producing. These are the questions we could speak today, and I'm ready to share my knowledge about this.
Awesome. Thanks, Margo. Paldies, like we say in Latvian. But so to me, this opens up a big question about community and how you guys think about community and your respective practices. So one of the interesting contrasts, I think, is that besides the fact that both of you have extensive training and experience in classical music, like Margo Morza, both in like choral music and in opera direction, but you've also been working as a freelance artist and artistic producer for just decades, right? And Sheena, we have you have this wide variety of commercial experience, but that work that we just recently saw and how you're describing and framing it is very academic, very PhD focused, right? So but how you're attuning to the ensemble that you're working with is like both practically and theoretically important, right? So I'm curious about how both of you guys think about community in relationship to both your individual practices and your support of others' work.
Do you want to?
Yeah, you start.
Okay. For me, what's interesting is can you hear me? Is my thing on? Yeah. Okay. I'm interested in community that's more than human community. So having community with the trees and with animals and with literally the vibrations and qualities that are around us every day. So I really don't have a human focused community, which is kind of, in the work, but also just in my life, in my lifestyle, And so I really love building community with humans, but like not having the humans as the focus and having like the qualities as the focus, because that's what we can all attune to. The animals, the nature, everything can attune to the different vibrations, and that's how we're in relationality. And for me, it's like, yes, I guess it sounds academic-y, but I don't come from like an academic-y background. I come from a performing arts background, and so I'm really coming from it from like the experience and the exploration and the practice side of it. And for me, like philosophy is not separate from practice, like it's in the practice, which I don't think people talk about very much. Like, people think that thinking is a separate thing that happens from practice, and it's not. Like it is already there in the community building. And so I feel so much freer when it's within a research context, because you don't have to worry about being cool. You don't have to worry about having like a product that is like aesthetically pleasing. It's just about literally attuning to each other and building that community. And I just love that feeling of like, attuning and becoming like one in some weird way. I don't know. That's my experience with community. It's not a very traditional one, but yeah.
Yeah, you are building new communities basically. If in each field you want to arrive or work, you have to be in a community or build a community.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about 3 questions which I could fit into 10 minutes if I should give a presentation. So one thing is I will say very simple things, but if it's what you learned yourself, it's much more stronger. But maybe you will also remember, this is for the students basically, not for probably, I don't know. Yeah.
We're all students.
Yeah, we are teaching. We are teaching ourselves. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I totally agree. So I was writing down, finding out 3 things if you want to be artist and producer. Like, what do you do best, and keep stuck with it. Stick with it. Yeah. For example, if you are very, very good manager. Yeah, as an artist, stick with that. So then you can do also the same thing.
But what if you're not? But what if you're not good at anything?
You are. You are. This is 100%. For example, you are good in being quiet, right? Or not saying stupid things, for example. Yeah, and then you can be a very good team member of people who are talking too much, for example. And then they will love it. They will love you. You will be building up a very strong. I don't know, like command.
A team.
Team.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is like blah, 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 blah. You will be the one, the listener, right? Or you have a dog. Probably you are the dog person in this team. So find out what you are doing best and stick with that. And then a second point would be, find out with whom you want to do it, which is the same, right? If you are a dog person, maybe you don't stick with a crocodile person, right? Yeah, it's like the same.
It could create some interesting dynamics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just with whom, yeah?
Yeah.
And then it's the same for the arts and for the producing, for the both sides. But you can learn from one part these things and bring it over to the others, right? For example, if you are a good director, probably you'll be not the assistant of a technician, right? Because you are just used to be a person who makes structure, right? So this kind of find with whom, like with your strengths, then with whom you work, and for the future, where do you get energy from? And this is probably a community question. So where do you get energy from? Of course, usually we are humans, we need interaction. Of course, we find it in the similar people. But I do have different experiences in Germany where we are not the best friends, but still doing wonderful things together. This is extremely interesting. What I learned also in like I will always do everything with my friends, and this will be like flowers and paradise my whole life. And then I learned how good things can turn out with not the best friends, even if you are fighting fighters or having. Then we just take help. We took help, for example, in mentoring, and then we did the best things out of our teams. So just where do you get energy from is a question of community, right? So because then without energy you will not do anything, right?
Yeah.
Do you get it from your forest and dog, right? Or I take energy out of wonderful people. Like if I think like opposite of you, right?
Well, not the opposite, but I tend to focus more on the non-human. But yes,
post-human. This is a human version. I'm the past version of the human avatar, and you are the future. We are post-human. Like you take energy from mushrooms and from walks. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've also been doing some work with the non-human as well, right, Margo? You have a mushroom opera. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I flirt with the post-human idea because theater in general can't be post-human because we are putting a human in the center, made by humans. So this is just all post-human theater is very, very much flirt about post-human tryout. But why not? We are artists and we can do this. Just to be critical to yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did also opera with mushrooms, and I work since 2 years with mushrooms, make sounds out of mushrooms and operas, and I teach also children in school and about mushroom, how to make out of mushrooms characters and superpower characters, and so we teach ecology through theater. Yeah.
Do you want? Should the Bilze project? Should I show a little bit of that?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Is that relevant or
Yeah.
Stel de Vin?
We can much more effective. We can check this full version of the part 3.
What's it called?
Like Rex Progress.
Oh, Rake's Progress. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll share that.
This will be something else, just showing that I worked in a classical opera.
Can I come visit and see your shows? These are amazing.
This is good, yeah. This is Stravinsky. This is not me.
No,
I was just trying to translate him.
I'm talking about the visuals,
Yes,
the design. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is not anti-post-human, right? Because everything is very artificial. Nothing exists in the real life. And I think the human fantasy is the place where I get energy and And then I imagine that the plants and the animals are also having the same fantasies. So then again, I connect to post-humans through fantasies.
Can maybe both of you talk a little bit about how this, whether we're talking about the non-human as having agency or enjoying the fantasy or not, can both of you talk a little bit about how scenography or design play into your work? Because you're both making compositional choices in your work, and in some cases you're working with, maybe sound designers or different designers. Like how do you go about thinking about the visual life of your works?
Yeah, like I was saying before, for me, it's all about getting rid of the idea that we have different categorized senses. And so I'm very interested in just focusing on qualities and seeing how that translate like transcends across all the different disciplines. So when I'm like composing, first of all, I'm not thinking that I'm composing. I think the event is composing, and I'm just like one element in the event. So in my defense for my PhD, like I remember one of my supervisors was saying, okay, but you're not taking any like agency or responsibility, like that you're part of this thing, that you are the composer and you're doing the thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point of this thesis, is that like the event is composing, and that's what I find interesting. So I've already lost your question, but
No, I think that's an
But-
accurate response to the prompt. You're basically like
Yeah.
trying to remove a sense of control that is like maybe traditionally hierarchical or around a solo genius, and I like recognize more the inherent
yeah,
kind of
and
embodied
even,
knowledge in the
because
event itself.
we're not closed containers, right? Like we're not closed containers. Our bodies aren't closed containers. Our minds aren't closed containers. Everything is in relationality all the time. So I'm more interested in like what is composition when you're not separate and you're not a human or a dog and have all these categories. Like how do we actually get beyond all the prefigured neurotypical systems? And for me, neurotypicality and neurodivergence aren't like, you know, they're not medical terms. It's not like, there is no such thing as a neurotypical person. It's a systemic operation that we all, we all learn all these things, and some of us integrate them into our psyches more than other people. And so we have tendencies towards neurotypicality, which means we parse out or we filter out certain things in perception. And so these compositional like explorations are also a way to get back to like direct perception and how we actually experience things, instead of filtering things out or trying to categorize our experiences. So yeah, composition to me is so much more than a controlling of things. It's actually like the event, how the event controls our bodies and how we move. And, like if you think of a space, and if you put certain, the table is here and the chairs are there, your body is going to move in a certain way based on the event, and so that's the composition. The composition is the way bodies are moving, in relationality to the other bodies, and these are bodies too, Anyway, I'm getting really off track, but yeah.
Margo, what say you to that? How do you think about scenography or design in your process?
Am I on? Yeah. I was thinking, meanwhile, listening and thinking myself. It's always this kind of part-time listening. But look, I'm a producer from one side and manager and curator, right? And then I look differently to world when I just observe. It's always post factum, basically. There are ready worlds which you are kind of selecting. Like after in a garden, right? You're just a little bit gatekeeping. If you want to put it in a bad way, in a positive way, we kind of try to repeat the best things out of, give more chance, right? This is a producing world. And then it's a different creational process, right? How you create or repeatedness of artwork, right? In a Walter Benjamin sense, right? That you recreate art again and again. And as a stage director, I do differently the stages. I become this kind of very autistic person who is just trying to serve my fantasy or believe in myself. So this is a bigger part, is just to believe. This is the right way. This is the right way. This is the right way. And after I remember I was asking Minushkin, this Cirque du Soleil in Paris. She's leading this, not circus, Théâtre du Soleil, and Ariane Minushkin, and I was asking her, how do you know that you are good? And she was saying, like, after 10 years doing this job, you can't constantly ask yourself, am I good? Am I good? Am I good? So basically, as an artist, a stage director, I stopped asking myself, is it a good idea? It's more about to find probably the most interesting thing of yours. What did you find out? And then believe it and stick to that, right? And so that's why it's very interesting. Like as a producer, you reproduce logically, and as an artist, you switch off and you become autistic producer basically. You just follow your one thought and don't go right and left, because otherwise you will be, it's like two different type of glasses. Like one is in very narrow and sharp, and one is like fish eye, constantly looking at everything. So probably this is what I also like in this switching between these two roles. And how do I see stage directing? How I translate? I just try to understand music. Yeah, when I listen to music, I try to kind of see visions from one side. What do I see? And then from other side, I try to see what wasn't there. So I try not to copy. Yeah, of course we are copying everything. So that's why I'm just trying to slow down this process of copying. Like hopefully I was not stealing it from 10 years ago from somebody. I hope it's like purely mine. Yeah. So this kind of process of creating new taste, new pictures. Yeah, I'm totally interested in new pictures, let's say.
So I feel like that speaks to like a level of almost self-awareness of how your own brain is operating, to understand like, oh, if I have an impulse to do this, I have to check it to make sure that it's not just like repeating something that I've seen. I have to determine like where that's come from and like almost like screen it and contextualize it. And I'm wondering about how that relates to how you think about how the brain works in this process of making.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I probably am so interested in the work that I'm doing because I'm such a controlling person. Like I'm just like trying to like remove myself, and everyone, I mean, we all know that this has been done in a million different ways with like aleatoric music and all that, and trying to like remove the conditioning that you have and that you're going in with. And I guess the way that why I'm interested in it is because it's like there's so much more possibility when you do remove all that conditioning. And then it isn't necessarily that we're repeating things, because every moment is like so distinct, even though we have like things that go across moments, they're unique moments, But it's hard because I just like, there's always going to be that controlling part, like there's always going to be these aesthetics you're carrying with you where you have to be like, okay, it doesn't matter if it's good or if you're good at this or if whatever, like you have to like collectively decide that we're focusing on like the emergent qualities that are happening in front of us. And it doesn't matter if we are necessarily in agreement with them or not. That's where it's going and that's where it's flowing. And so like to honor the like process and to honor that over like prefigured ideas or our taste, like that's why I'm so resistant to like aesthetics in terms of like prefigured aesthetics, because I think that like aesthetics that are coming from the event are wonderful and unique, but when you're bringing in aesthetics, it just closes all these things off, so yeah.
About the neuronal processes, right, of creativity is the question. Yeah, I observed a very interesting thing. Probably it can help also some students or some adults. I don't know how you say grown-ups students. I realized that I work extremely good, kind of under under this tiredness. So I need sort of little bit, or sometimes extreme, little bit till extreme tiredness. And then I am kind of very honest to these ideas who come. So that's why at night or the last moment, which seems always very bad, I can do also things in time if I'm just tired earlier, but I need this kind of absolute tiredness, and then I'm not distracted, and I just see clearly what's the best.
Yeah, because it's like a breakdown of the ego,
Yeah.
like you're like, you're not holding yourself into this rigid thing. I'm a human with all these ideas and I'm important. You're just kind of like fluid at that point.
Yeah, fluid is a very good word. And so that's why I was also, interestingly, I could also check out what kind of tirednesses are doing to you what.
Yeah.
Right? You can also be like tired of people, for example.
That's
and
right.
then go extreme into metro and make yourself tired for 8 hours, right? And then you will write this one email, right?
Yeah.
Probably better than if I will hang out at home and watch 1-2 series and then I will write, but you will be not tired enough, So this kind of form of working of tiredness, I think, works for me. And this is the question what I said before: who you are, what do you do best, right? Probably I'm the best in sort of tiredness. We were speaking yesterday about this, why it comes, because probably I'm also through these different traumas. This is kind of trauma response that I work in the survival very best.
Me too. Yeah.
So, but why not? Well, let's celebrate. Yes, yes, trauma, survival.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know how to work in tiredness.
Yeah.
So I make these circumstances for myself.
You make the trauma happen.
Make the optimistic trauma around, like this metro example, or what else make you tired? Like make tired, I don't know. I'm very tired of people speaking loud. Yeah, not even many people, but just few people speaking loud. And listen, I realized when a lot of people speak to me loud, I forget my troubles. And I was thinking, bingo! This is the form of method how I can read out of, form of meditation, like speak to me loud and long, and I will, and after half an hour, I don't remember my problems. This kind of tiredness as a method of working.
So that makes me curious about how it is that you guys think of it's kind of almost meme-like at this point, but like self-care or wellness, or like how do you ensure that if we're thinking about sustainability, that the work is sustainable for you, that you can keep doing it, like whether that's financially, physically, mentally, like how do you make the work sustainable for you?
I have to be honest, this year that was a big question for me, because my whole life I've had to work in this like survival kind of mode where like I have to be fully thinking about the thing I'm working on, and everything else in my life gets pushed to the side, and I become like very obsessive. And my my therapist was like, look, Sheena, you're trying to write like a research creation PhD on neurodiversity, and you want to do it in this really unhealthy way. Why don't you try doing it in your neurodiverse way? And I'm like, I can't do that because the circumstances and like the environment isn't made for neurodiverse works to happen. Like you have to do things fast, and it has to happen in this specific way, and there's like a pressure that you go in with. And there's also that idea that you have to be like miserable to do good work or something. And she's like, why don't you try not doing that this time? Because it'll honor, like, you'll be like, in alignment with the work you're actually doing. And I'm like, yeah, but what if it's not good enough? Like, what if it comes out and it's not as good as it would have been if I tortured myself, But that's what was so interesting is like there is this myth, you know, that like you have to go through this like discomfort to make art or something. And it's not true. You can like do it slowly. You can go on walks and listen to, you know, the books that you want to like interact with. And like there are neurodiverse ways to do the things you want to do and not be in this like state of survival mode or like torturing yourself, or you know, it's just you have to like prioritize your mental health and be like, okay, I'm going to make this connection happen between my mental health and my work, you know, and not have to be going crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and is it a question also about finance? Is it a question about finance?
As well, yeah, sustainability of all aspects.
Yeah, because I think it's a question of finance.
Legit.
It always is.
Which is because I'm coming from deep, deep poverty. People, okay, let's call it street. Okay, and jumping over classes, it costs you a lot. It costs you mentally, bravery, giving up. Many procedures cost you also time-wise longer because you are encoding systems. You know, like shall I speak now? And you spend time and energy in decoding. For example, in arriving me as in Germany, right? Like until I get the German, so 3 years passed, you know. So and then decoding opera system even harder, right? And you are constantly tired, right? Because tiredness, you are constantly getting yourself tired, and then you get new energy, right? And probably this decoding system fits to my personal story. So find out who you are, right? What is your personal story? And then build up the profession on top of it, I would say. So, but of course, I'm getting also tired of being constantly brave. And there's like, when is my payoff coming? Of these many decades of decodation. Like I'm professional, I don't know, something decoder of NASA or how you say it, because it's like, yeah. It takes a lot of energy and time. Where do we get the energy from? Probably I get the energy out of this decodation, or learned to take out the energy of putting myself in the unknown continents in a symbolic way, right? Like, oh, I don't understand anything, I get energy. But I don't know if it's perpetuum mobile, if it's an energy forever. Let's see. I will tell you at the end of my days. Let's meet in 40 years. Yeah. I think still, I think economy is very, very important. Learn about taxes, about investments, about where to put your little possibilities. Like, yeah, because I came from non-capitalistic into and was thrown into turbo capitalism, which even developed in last 10 years even faster and harder and faster, right? So I was okay, capitalism now, how to live in it. So I changed like 4 times in my lifetime, total my mindset, like totally, like each 10 years were different world constructions. So the answer is probably I get the energy out of these changing realities.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of great wisdom and information so far from both. We're almost at 5 o'clock, and I wanted to take a moment and see if there were any questions or thoughts from our folks who are in the space or on Zoom. So Anna's already prompted folks, if you want to raise your hand or pop reflections in the comments, you're welcome to do that. And wanted to ask our colleagues in the space if they had any questions or thoughts as well.
Thank you. Hello. So Margo, just I was paying attention to what you were saying about sort of practical concerns and how they impact your art and how they impact you. They might affect a lot of decisions that you make. Well, you didn't really say all this. I hate to be putting words in your mouth, but you talked about practical concerns like finance. And so, and it reminded me of I just heard just a few months ago an interview with Patti Smith, the musician, poet.
Yeah.
So anyway, so somebody was asking her, so what advice do you have for the young artists? And she said, one of the first things she said was, take care of your teeth. So anyway, it just occurs to me sometimes, we think of the advice or the wisest things that we might offer as an artist as being some of those like really ethereal, esoteric kinds of answers, whereas practically, if you don't have your mental health or whatever your health, or you don't have some of those other affairs in order, they affect your ability to keep going as an artist. So I was wondering if you could continue that line of things that you were talking about, some practical things that you have discovered regarding finance or some other types of practices that you've adopted. And
Thank you for this wonderful question. I call myself artist, female feminist economist. I don't know, something. Because I would say that I studied in Berlin twice, anthropology master, and later stage directing in opera, stage directing master in Berlin. So during these years, I was extremely ideological. I was like ideas, and then I was arriving in the real, this capitalistic again, new coding system. True, and I realized everybody is actually having a lot of money who are studying. I was like, whoa! I was so busy with art that I didn't realize that everybody around me is rich. And then I was like, okay, no problem, I will make money myself. And I did illegal 3 years in Berlin Airbnb. I was renting out my rooms and getting money and trying to, and I bought 2 flats. I bought 2 flats and really like feministic idea that I don't want to be poor when I'm old, because it's my problem that I didn't notice through my study years that I have no money. This is also my problem, people. I can't blame any system around me that I love art, right? So I think it's absolutely a question of artist yourself, just put yourself into reality. And so that's why I say invest money and invest in forms you could understand, right? Like don't do what you don't understand, right? Basically, and take care that, especially as a woman, and in Germany there is a research that 70% of women are poor and beat to be poor. Also, in the end, they will be poor. So I was like, no, stop. Why studies are not telling this? That you have to be much more better investor if you want. Invest ideas also. Invest in yourself in teeth, right? Invest in your what will you make stable when you are not more the hot person in the room, but you are still an artist also when you are 65, right? You guys are like, oh, then I will be something else, right? No, but you will be still the artist. So yes, I take it extremely seriously. Afterwards, I understood that everybody around me is rich. I took it very, very seriously as my personal task. I can't blame others, and then I take the in my hands and make it possible. Is it answering your question?
Thank you. Are there any other questions in the Zoom or from colleagues in the room? Zoom folks? I think we have, no? Mark, do you have a question? Yeah. Wait for the mic.
Very short question. I'm just curious what drew you to opera?
What do you do?
What drew you to opera? Why did you select
So like
that
because
kind of
this is the most
directing?
complicated thing what people discovered so far, because it's working with highest, more, in my opinion, extreme the art synthesis. I like it's like synthesizing art and you never know what will happen, because it's like chemistry, right? You put things together and you don't know what will come out. So it's like a
Laborious?
I was like extremely complicated, and people are extremely complicated in the opera world. I think I liked this extreme complexity, and I liked that my brain is overstimulated. And I can't have control, because this is kind of surfing on big ocean waves, and then you know what I mean.
I have to touch your ring. I've been waiting to. That's so cool.
It's got a little fuzzy top on it. Then I guess I would love to hear a little bit maybe more from both of you about your relationship to music specifically in relationship to your work. Like Margo, you were saying that you look for the music to drive the work, and like music making within your works, Sheena, seems really important. And so I'm just curious about like, how do you see yourselves as creating with music or considering music in the creative process? Like, what does music mean to you? And that can also be a practical question if we need. Like, how do you obtain rights? Like, how do you work with musicians,
Yeah. I mean, I keep saying the same thing, but for me, like, composition is, it's music, but it's also, the vibrations that you feel physically, like if you're singing, for example, like you physically feel like you're being massaged from the inside. It's such an amazing experience, and it's not meant to just be for people who are in the arts. Like, making music is something that everybody should be doing on a daily basis because it feels good. And it's like this languaging and like a languaging, of course, between others, but also like a languaging with yourself and connecting to yourself and like getting to know like who you are in so many different ways. So for me, music is just like, it's a language that goes beyond any prefigured language, and everyone experiences it. Even deaf folks, like they feel the vibrations, like music it's not exclusive, and I think that's why I'm so drawn to music, because it's just such a visceral experience and it just transcends everything. And even the senses, like music is in relationality with all the senses. So that's how I feel about music.
So early years, I just remembered now that I went myself in the Soviet Union. I went myself to a music school. The boss of the music school and said, I was 6 years old myself, alone, and that I wanted to learn in music school, in the Soviet music schools, where basically everybody needs to study, but nobody wants to study. These little children, so they are forced always. Yeah, so I was always kind of knowing this will save the world. Basically, mushrooms and music, and probably it's the same. I'm not sure yet. I work now with mushrooms 2 years. Probably is, and mushroom and music. So probably it's the same. I don't know yet. But sometimes I'm flirting with the idea that I'm saying that I'm music fascist. I think just music is the best, you know. It's like why to discuss, you know, like I'm very radical about it. And then like always if there is a theater play, I was like, yeah, beautiful, but where is the music? So because words are all, even I love that. I mean, a lot of dramaturgs said that words are losing in front of music. It's like, of course. I mean, this is. I love also words, yeah, and I love writing. But like music is just another dimension which we can touch. You know, like little bit touching and feeling that probably we are saved, rescued through mushrooms and music. They're reminding us that we are probably not, they will catch us, you know, when we fall as human beings, human race. I mean, I'm not very high opinion about us. But
any other thoughts from the room? No?
Are there any questions online?
Not quite.
Okay.
It's all good. Well, I was wondering if you had any questions for each other, maybe.
Do you do you ever like, do you feel like very inspired by being in cities? Like, do you ever feel like you do want to isolate and kind of do your own thing and not be in collaboration with other humans? I'm just curious, like, what if you've ever done that or what that feels like for you.
yeah, my favorite film was a documentary where this woman spent the early years with monkeys, and then they found out that human need interaction to be human. Yeah, so basically, what can I say? Of course, I like to be alone under my blanket. I call it the under blanket world. I like under blanket world best, but still I'm human. I need this interaction, and in the city you have a lot of choices, right? And as I said, I'm interested in architecture. I think it's very interesting. Also, architect is kind of music, kind of also our brain, representation of our brain, how we think we could probably live togetherness in a form. So that's why I'm curious about cities. I'm curious, let's say. Yeah, and answering your question, yes, it can inspire me. I was like, boom, like this in Montreal, these metro stations, like it's like whoa. Yeah, it gives me some musical inspirations also.
Yeah, with like the lights and you should have seen the metros before. It looked like a kid's. You know what I'm talking about? Before they changed the metro, and it felt like you were like in a kid's metro. Like, I don't know, it had a really interesting vibe to it. Sorry,
I think everybody can live everywhere, but just as the biggest question probably for me, and what I said in the beginning, is sharing of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So you from forests with the dog share the knowledge with us without a dog in the forest, and the opposite, right? So this kind of what kind of codes and languages we use to share the knowledge. That's the most important thing, what we study and what we do later, hopefully. And not being like higher or lower, just find the forms of sharing knowledge. I think this is the important thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm still not seeing things from Zoom. I think colleagues are cool, but I'm wondering if you guys had any last thoughts that you want to offer to either students or peers or colleagues, just like things that you think are maybe that we didn't touch on or that are important to communicate.
I think often about like when you go to like art school and how like you have to present things, and I often think about how like what would you be making if you weren't presenting, you know, like, and I feel like that's like a good place to start in terms of creativity. Like what would you want to be doing and thinking about and practicing, and what activities would you be doing if it wasn't something that you have to like wrap up in a bow and deliver to people. And I don't know, but for me, like that is like the most important thing, to really be able to hear your own voice and your own interests. And so I guess that's kind of like what I was getting at, is like, I love the city too. I love collaborating with other people, but I also feel like there's so much of that all the time, especially if you're in school, that like I wonder if there's ever like opportunities to kind of like say, okay, I'm going to completely disconnect from, you know, the idea that I'm getting graded on this, you know, or like the idea that, you know, this has to sound aesthetically pleasing, or, you know, like what happens when you get rid of all of those things and you just listen to like what's going on inside of your like desiring machine, you know, like what is really there. And I don't know, to me, like that's the most, there's so much that, you know, resources when you go to school in the arts. And so that's why like it's really important to like have those opportunities, but also to find the balance with that and be like, okay, how do I use these resources to really hear my own creativity, and to discover it within like collaborative environments, but in like a collectivity way, where it's not about like egos or humans or any of that stuff. And it's just like, okay, we're morphing into this one glob now. Now we're a glob and we're gonna do things as a glob, you know? So anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to sort of add.
I can just, in the same sentence, just go over to my idea more about this knowledge sharing, because creativity, I mean, I don't know, how do you have it? don't have problems with ideas.
Yeah,
You know, just
Same,
tell me circumstances, I will come up
Yeah.
basically in 15 minutes with 100 ideas. I don't exaggerate, but I don't work. That's why in a reclam industry, you know, or something, because or how you call it, like advertisement industry, because it's too easy for me. I can come up with hundreds ideas, right? But what I'm interested in more is about idealistically how we could humans share the knowledge, right? Not the creativity, but the knowledge. So whatever your knowledge is, for example, as I can see so far, is how to be brave to stop the fast producing, yeah, and trust your own rhythm, yeah, and this kind of is a knowledge, and so kind of find out what is your knowledge or what is needed in the community or society, and now the sharing of knowledge is the new currency. Yeah? This is the new creativity, because anyway, ChatGPT, the information is everywhere, pictures are everywhere. So now the sharing is the currency. How fast or how, I don't know, effectively, it's not the word, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like how we create new structures of sharing. Materials, resources, brain, space, environment, like this kind of things. And I think the artist has this responsibility to create these new channels, whatever, and not without, oh, nobody understands me anyway, I will do my art for, because I'm so, yeah, this genius concept, right? This kind of, yes, but now we are needed here, you know, with the visions. And visions of, also for utopia. That doesn't need to be like realistic, art needs to be realistic. No, it can be also utopian visions. Just give us idea, and we can, give some more light. Light is not the word, but I don't want that artists are the lightning guys, yeah, but give some ideas, let's say, right? Like oh, okay, true. This is also a possibility. Like, sharing channels. This is my last word.
Lovely. Well, to me, that's a really lovely back and forth and a lot of really beautiful wisdom and reflection on like your multifaceted practices. I feel like there's a lot of great nuggets in there that I hope the community and students kind of take away with. And we had a few people on Zoom who were here along with us, even though they were quiet. So appreciate the folks who have been here. But I think at this point, unless there's further comments from colleagues, I think we're good. And I just want to note a big thank you to Fourspace for hosting this entire series. It's been really great to have here in this nice winter in Montreal. And all of these talks are being archived on Fourspace's YouTube channel. So, and they're going to be on their own playlist, the Fire and Light playlist series, because we're awesome like that. So definitely check that out. And also look probably in the fall for a highlight reel from this series of all of these super nuggety, wisdomy bits, which will probably also end up on that playlist. But if you know me even 3 people removed, I will be spamming your inbox with it. So just know that that's coming at you. So again, thank you so much to everybody who's here, and whether in person or virtually. And
also thank you.
Oh, and thank you guys.
Yeah,
thank you guys so
you.
much. We have both
Thank you.
Margo coming all the way from Europe and Sheena coming from out in the woods.
Yeah.
So both of these folks like traveled to spend this afternoon, evening with us. And very much worth it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yay.
And a big thank you once again to the panelists for being here, and to Mo for organizing this amazing series and activating the space. Thank you to those who joined us online. You're getting some applause, so that's awesome.
Oh, thank
And
you.
we're going to go ahead and close up the Zoom, but just a reminder, this was live streaming to YouTube, so you can access it pretty much right now. So thank you again. And of course, if we do this again, we'd love to see you guys at the next one. So have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.